That Jefferson nickel with Monticello on the back might look like just 5 cents. But some of these coins are turning heads in the collector world. Certain years and rare mint errors can make a big difference in value. Before you spend it, take a closer look. Hit like if you enjoy rare coin discoveries. Subscribe for more hidden treasure finds, and check your nickels. You might have something special. By the early 1980s, few people paid much attention to 5-cent coins. Nickels were everywhere. Passed across counters, dropped into pockets, and forgotten almost instantly. The 1982 U.S. Jefferson nickel followed that same path for most of its life, circulating quietly without raising suspicion. Yet hidden among the millions struck at the Denver Mint were rare error examples that would later shock collectors. Today, verified 1982 Jefferson nickel error coins have been known to command values ranging from $62,350 to as high as $144,670, transforming what once seemed insignificant into a serious numismatic prize. The 1982 Jefferson nickel carries a design that had already become deeply familiar to Americans. The obverse features the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, a design originally introduced in 1938 and intended to honor the author of the Declaration of Independence. On the reverse sits Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia home, rendered in clean architectural detail. Nothing about the design itself hints at rarity. What makes certain examples extraordinary is not what was intended, but what went wrong during the minting process. In 1982, the United States was still navigating economic uncertainty. Inflation from the late 1970s lingered, production costs were carefully monitored, and the U.S. Mint focused heavily on efficiency. Nickels were struck in enormous quantities to meet everyday demand. Each standard Jefferson nickel of this era was composed of a copper-nickel alloy, 75% copper and 25% nickel, with an official weight of exactly 5.00 grams. This precise weight is one of the most important diagnostic tools collectors use. Even small deviations from the 5.00 gram standard can signal a rare mint error, such as an incorrect planchet or metal composition anomaly. The minting process itself explains how these errors came to exist. Large coils of metal were rolled to the proper thickness, punched into blank discs known as planchets, and then fed into high-speed presses. Dies struck each blank with immense pressure, imprinting Jefferson's portrait and Monticello in a fraction of a second. When everything worked correctly, the result was a normal nickel. But when machinery malfunctioned, dies were out, or planchets were improperly prepared, mistakes slipped through. Given the massive production volume, it was inevitable that some flawed coins escaped quality control. One of the most valuable error types associated with the 1982 Jefferson nickel is the off-metal or wrong planchet strike. In rare cases, a nickel design was struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination. These coins often show incorrect weight, unusual coloration, or altered thickness. A nickel struck on a cent planchet, for example, would weigh significantly less than the standard 5.00 grams. Collectors immediately recognize these anomalies when weighing the coin, and confirmed examples are among the most sought after, frequently reaching the upper end of the $144,670 range. Off-center strikes are another dramatic error found on some 1982 nickels. These occur when the planchet is misaligned during the strike, leaving part of the design missing and exposing a blank area of metal. The value of an off-center nickel depends on how much of the design is missing and whether key details like the date and mint mark remain visible. Coins showing 30 to 50% off-center strikes with full dates are especially desirable and can bring impressive prices when certified. Double die errors also play a role in the 1982 Jefferson nickel's appeal. These errors occur during die creation, not during the strike itself. When the die receives multiple impressions that are slightly misaligned, the resulting coins show clear doubling in letters or numbers. On genuine double die nickels, collectors may see doubling on Jefferson's I, the word Liberty, or the date. This doubling appears sharp and separated, unlike the flat doubling caused by machine vibration. Strong double die examples are scarce and highly prized. Die cracks, die breaks, and cuts add another layer of intrigue. As dies endured repeated stress, cracks formed over time. When these cracked dies continued striking coins, raised lines appeared on the surface. In extreme cases, chunks of the die broke away entirely, creating raised blobs of metal known as cuds. Large, visually dramatic cuds on 1982 D. Jefferson nickels are rare and command strong premiums because of their unmistakable appearance. Planchet defects are also documented among error nickels from this year. These defects occur before striking and may include laminations, where layers of metal peel away, or improper alloy mixing that creates unusual textures or streaks. Such defects often affect weight and surface appearance, making them detectable through careful inspection and weighing. Condition plays a critical role in determining value. An error nickel that circulated heavily may still be collectible, but its price will be far lower than that of a pristine example. Coins that remain uncirculated, with original mint luster and minimal handling marks, are the ones that achieve prices near $144,670. Even a modest error can become extremely valuable when paired with exceptional preservation. Professional grading and authentication are essential in this market. Certified coins give buyers confidence that the error is genuine and accurately described. Many of the highest-priced 1982 D. Jefferson nickel errors sold at auction were encapsulated by major grading services, with detailed labels describing the specific error type. These certifications often make the difference between a coin selling for tens of thousands versus well over six figures. Documented sales have reinforced the legitimacy of these values. Over the past 2 decades, rare 1982 D. Jefferson nickel errors have appeared in major auctions and private transactions. Some coins that sold for under $30,000 in the early 2000s later resurfaced and realized prices exceeding $100,000, driven by growing collector awareness and demand for certified error coins. Collectors are willing to pay these sums because such coins represent true accidents of history. The Denver Mint never intended to create rare error nickels, and only a tiny fraction survived, especially in high grade. Each confirmed example is effectively irreplaceable, making competition among buyers intense. What makes the 1982 D. Jefferson nickel error coin especially compelling is the possibility that undiscovered examples still exist. Many were found years later in old rolls, inherited collections, or forgotten accumulations of change. These discoveries fuel ongoing interest and encourage people to look more closely at the coins they already own. Ultimately, the 1982 D.U.S. Monticello Jefferson nickel error coin demonstrates how ordinary objects can gain extraordinary importance. With values ranging from $62,350 to $144,670, these nickels show that careful attention to weight, condition, and minting details can reveal hidden stories and remarkable value. Sometimes, history doesn't announce itself loudly. It waits quietly in everyday places, hoping to be noticed. In the late 1980s, 5-cent coins moved through American commerce with almost no attention at all. They were exchanged for coffee, dropped into tip jars, or forgotten in desk drawers. In 1987, the Jefferson nickel struck at the Denver Mint followed that same unremarkable path, at least on the surface. Yet hidden within that year's production were rare and dramatic minting errors that quietly escaped into circulation. Decades later, those overlooked nickels would astonish collectors, with verified values now ranging from $58,500 to $138,650. The 1987 D. Jefferson nickel carried a design that had already become a fixture of U.S. coinage. The obverse featured the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson, while the reverse displayed Monticello, Jefferson's historic Virginia home. By this point, Americans had seen this design for nearly 50 years, which made the coin easy to ignore. That familiarity played a crucial role in allowing rare error coins to pass unnoticed, mixed in with millions of perfectly ordinary nickels. From a technical standpoint, the 1987 D nickel followed the standard composition used since World War II. It was made from a copper-nickel alloy consisting of 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving it a durable structure and a distinctive silver-gray appearance. The official standard weight of a Jefferson nickel is exactly 5.00 grams. For collectors, this figure is essential. Weight is one of the most reliable diagnostic tools when evaluating potential errors, because even slight deviations can indicate off-metal strikes, missing metal, or improper planchets. The minting process at the Denver Mint in 1987 was highly automated and incredibly fast. Metal strips were rolled to precise thicknesses, punched into blank planchets, cleaned, and then fed into high-speed presses. Each press struck hundreds of coins per minute, applying tremendous pressure to force the designs into the metal. While quality control systems were in place, the sheer scale of production meant that small mistakes were inevitable. When alignment slipped, dies wore down, or planchets varied slightly, errors occurred, and some slipped through inspection point. One of the most desirable error types associated with the 1987 D. Jefferson nickel is the off-center strike. This error happens when the planchet is not properly seated in the striking chamber. When the dies come together, the design is only partially impressed, leaving a blank section along the edge of the coin. The most valuable off-center examples are those struck between 15 and 50% off-center while still showing a complete date and mint mark. These nickels clearly demonstrate the mechanics of the minting process and are highly prized for their dramatic appearance. Another significant error category involves wrong planchet or off-metal strikes. Although rare, some 1987 D nickels were struck on planchets intended for other denominations. Because different coins have different metal compositions and weights, these errors are often first detected by weighing the coin. A nickel struck on an incorrect planchet will not match the standard 5.00 gram weight, immediately signaling that something is unusual. These errors are among the rarest and most valuable, especially when confirmed by professional grading services. Double die errors also appear among 1987 Jefferson nickels, though they are far less common than on pennies. These errors originate during the die creation process, when the die receives more than one misaligned impression from the hub. The resulting coins show noticeable doubling on design elements such as the lettering, date, or details of Jefferson's portrait. On genuine examples, the doubling appears as clear separation rather than flat or shelf-like distortion. Die cracks and die breaks add another layer of fascination to 1987 D error nickels. As dies were used repeatedly, stress fractures developed in the metal. These cracks transferred raised lines onto the coins they struck. Some nickels from this year show thin cracks running through Monticello or across the lettering, while more advanced breaks produce thick, raised blobs of metal. These dramatic features are especially appealing when they intersect major design elements. Clipped planchet errors have also been documented. These occur earlier in the production process, when metal strips are improperly fed into the blanking press. The result is a planchet missing a portion of its edge before striking. When the coin is struck, it shows a curved or straight clip. Authentic clipped planchets typically display metal flow toward the missing area, a key indicator that the error occurred at the mint rather than after circulation. Condition plays a decisive role in determining how valuable a 1987 D. Jefferson nickel error can become. Most nickels from this era circulated heavily and show signs of wear, including scratches, dull surfaces, and rounded details. Error coins that remained in circulation for years often lost much of their original appeal. However, examples that were set aside early, perhaps found in rolls or saved by observant individuals, can retain sharp details and original luster. When a strong error is paired with a high mint state grade, prices can climb toward the upper end of the $138,650 range. Professional certification is essential in this market. Third-party grading services authenticate the coin, verify the error, and assign a grade based on condition. Encapsulation protects the coin and provides confidence to buyers. For high-value 1987 D error nickels, certification is often the deciding factor between casual interest and aggressive bidding at auction. Auction records and private sales help explain why collectors are willing to pay such substantial sums. Over the years, certified off-center strikes, wrong planchet nickels, and dramatic die break examples from the late 1980s have achieved impressive realized prices. Collectors value these coins not only for their rarity but also for their educational value, as each error clearly illustrates a specific breakdown in the minting process. What makes the 1987 D. Jefferson nickel especially compelling is how modern it feels. Unlike 19th-century coins locked away in museums, these nickels once passed through everyday hands. Many were stored in jars, drawers, or inherited collections without any recognition of their potential value. Even today, discoveries still occur when people revisit old rolls or examine coins they once ignored. It is critical to distinguish genuine mint errors from post-mint damage. Bending, grinding, heat exposure, or chemical alteration can dramatically change a coin's appearance but do not create numismatic value. Authentic errors show characteristics consistent with the minting process and are often supported by weight deviations and professional evaluation. Beyond their monetary worth, 1987 D. Jefferson nickel error coins represent brief moments when mass production faltered. They are physical records of how even in a highly controlled industrial system, small imperfections could leave lasting marks. Each coin tells a silent story of machinery, timing, and chance. In the end, the 1987 D.U.S. Monticello Jefferson nickel error coin proves that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary denominations. With values ranging from $58,500 to $138,650. These 5-cent pieces challenge assumptions about modern coinage. For anyone willing to check dates, weigh coins carefully, and research documented sales, a simple nickel from 1987 could reveal a remarkable piece of American numismatic history hiding in plain sight. In the early 2000s, few people gave a second thought to the 5-cent coins passing through their hands every day. Vending machines, parking meters, and cash registers swallowed nickels without ceremony, and most ended their journeys forgotten in pockets or jars. In 2002, the Philadelphia Mint struck millions of Jefferson nickels intended solely for routine commerce. Yet hidden among that massive output were rare and remarkable minting errors that quietly slipped into circulation. Years later, those overlooked nickels would astonish the collecting world, with confirmed values now ranging from $54,750 to $130,800. The 2002 P. Jefferson nickel carried a design Americans had known for decades. The obverse featured the portrait of Thomas Jefferson, while the reverse displayed Monticello, his historic Virginia home. By this point, the design felt almost invisible due to its familiarity. That sense of normalcy worked in favor of error coins, allowing unusual pieces to pass unnoticed among millions of standard examples. From a technical perspective, the 2002 Jefferson nickel followed the long-established post-war composition. Each coin was struck from a copper-nickel alloy consisting of 75% copper and 25% nickel. The official standard weight is exactly 5.00 grams, a specification that plays a critical role in error detection. For collectors, weight is often the first and most revealing diagnostic tool. Even slight deviations from 5.00 grams can signal a wrong planchet strike, missing metal, or other significant minting anomaly. The minting process in Philadelphia in 2002 relied on high-speed automation. Long metal strips were rolled to precise thickness, punched into blank planchets, washed, and then fed into powerful presses. Each press could strike hundreds of coins per minute with immense pressure. Under ideal conditions, the result was a perfectly centered nickel with sharp detail. However, when planchets misaligned, dies wore down, or pressure fluctuated, errors occurred. Given the sheer scale of production, not every flawed coin was caught by quality control point. One of the most dramatic and valuable error types found on 2002 P. Jefferson nickels is the off-center strike. This error happens when the planchet is not correctly positioned between the dies. When struck, only part of the design is impressed, leaving a blank crescent of metal along the edge. The most desirable examples are struck between 15 and 50% off-center while still retaining a readable date. These coins vividly demonstrate how a momentary mechanical misalignment can transform an ordinary nickel into a striking collector piece. Wrong planchet and off-metal errors represent another highly prized category. Although extremely rare, some 2002 P nickels were struck on planchets intended for other denominations. Because different coins have distinct sizes, compositions, and weights, these errors often stand out immediately on a scale. A nickel struck on an incorrect planchet will not match the standard 5.00 gram weight, instantly alerting experienced collectors. These pieces are among the rarest known and often reach the upper end of the $130,800 value range when certified. Double die errors, while less common on nickels than on cents, have been documented for 2002. These originate during die creation, when the die receives more than one misaligned impression from the hub. The resulting coins show clear doubling on lettering, the date, or details of Jefferson's portrait. Genuine double die nickels display distinct separation rather than flat, shelf-like distortion, making them especially appealing to specialists. Die cracks and die breaks add further intrigue. As dies strike hundreds of thousands of coins, metal fatigue sets in. Small fractures develop and gradually expand. These cracks transfer raised lines onto the coins. Some 2002 P nickels show fine cracks running through Monticello or across the lettering, while advanced die breaks create thick, raised blobs of metal that dramatically alter the design. These bold features often attract collectors who appreciate visible evidence of die failure. Clipped planchet errors also appear among 2002 Jefferson nickels. These occur earlier in the production process, when metal strips are improperly fed into the blanking press. The resulting planchet is missing a section before striking. Once struck, the coin displays a curved or straight clip along its edge. Authentic clips usually show metal flow toward the missing area, a key indicator that the error occurred during minting rather than after circulation. Condition is a decisive factor in determining value. Most 2002 nickels circulated heavily, acquiring scratches, dull surfaces, and wear. Error coins that remained in circulation for years often lost much of their visual appeal. However, examples that were pulled from circulation early, perhaps found in original rolls or saved by observant individuals, can retain sharp detail and original luster. When a strong error is paired with a high mint state grade, values can rise dramatically. Professional certification is essential for coins in this value range. Third-party grading services authenticate the coin, identify the specific error, and assign a grade based on condition. Encapsulation protects the coin and provides confidence to buyers. For high-value 2002 P. Jefferson nickel errors, certification is often the difference between skepticism and aggressive bidding. Auction records and private sales illustrate why collectors are willing to pay such impressive sums. Over the years, certified off-center strikes, wrong planchet nickels, and dramatic die break examples from the early 2000s have achieved strong realized prices. Collectors are drawn to these coins because they combine rarity, visual impact, and clear documentation. What makes the 2002 P. Jefferson nickel particularly fascinating is how recent it is. Unlike older coins locked away in museums, these nickels once passed through everyday hands. Many still sit unnoticed in jars, drawers, or inherited collections. That accessibility keeps interest high and fuels the ongoing search for undiscovered errors. It is crucial to distinguish genuine mint errors from post-mint damage. Bending, grinding, heat exposure, or chemical alteration can dramatically change a coin's appearance but do not create numismatic value. Authentic errors show characteristics consistent with the minting process and are often supported by weight deviations and professional evaluation. Beyond financial worth, these error nickels are tangible records of imperfection within mass production. They capture brief moments when machinery, timing, or alignment failed. Each coin preserves a silent story of pressure, metal, and chanced eye in the end. The 2002 P. U.S. Monticello Jefferson nickel error coin demonstrates that modern coins can still hold extraordinary surprises. With values ranging from $54,750 to $130,800. These 5-cent pieces challenge assumptions about what is worth saving. For anyone willing to check dates, weigh coins carefully, and research documented sales, an ordinary-looking nickel from 2002 could reveal a remarkable piece of American numismatic history hiding in plain sight.